Good morning. You're listening to Insurance Matchmaking, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance. And now, sharing his knowledge, here's your host, Matt Libby.
Well, good morning. Welcome back to Insurance Matchmaking. And great news, you don't have to just listen to me today. I think I've had 3 shows in a row where it's been just me. So it's great to have a guest. Kind of a little history how we got to this guest. Before I introduce her, one of her agents, Renee, had contacted me because she had some marketplace type questions, and that's not what they do. So we actually are having 2 insurance people on today. Sometimes in the past I'll bring in some veterans groups, some fundraising, some people who are very passionate about their fundraising nonprofits. But today you're going to have somebody who probably knows more, has probably forgot more about insurance than I've learned. So this is going to be, I think, a great session. I have Stephanie Pigeon, who is the founder of Affiliated Associates, and she'll tell you a little bit more about that. I kind of want to, ask her kind of touch on, how that came about, maybe a little bit of, your history. We do have quite a bit of time, but we just got done meeting. I hadn't met Stephanie before. We had coffee before we came on the air and talked for probably close to an hour, and we're nowhere near done. So we'll probably get a couple shows out of today's meeting. Stephanie, tell us about Affiliate Associates.
Well, Matt, it's a little scary to say that I spent almost 30 years in the industry. I started in 1995. And just a little backstory, from 1995, I did start with a specific company, Mutual of Omaha Companies. I have to give them credit because they had a great training program at the time. And about 3 years into that, I decided that independence was really where I wanted to be. I wanted to represent my clients and not the carrier per se. So I had a very short stint with another carrier, and I acquired some other licensing to be able to do some retirement planning, as well as the life, disability, health programs, and so on. And at the same time that was all occurring, I really ended up kind of working with some colleagues that were independent and were dealing with healthcare. And they were quite creative and quite interesting. So in many ways became mentor of mine. So by 1999/2000, I decided that I would start my company and I would be completely independent of any of the carriers and really have the choice of carriers to work with. And during that time, I was also picking up super information about how to help the small business owner with their healthcare plans and their benefit plans, and even learning how to design them differently than what you might be accustomed to.
Right.
So that's really the kickoff of it, and from there the rest is history.
Yeah.
There's a lot of history.
So your local office is here in Crossville, and you do a lot. But to mention when we were talking coffee, you still have agents. I guess you have an agency still in Vermont. Are you? I mean, you're probably like me and have licenses in other states. But is that it for your locations for brick and mortar?
So
or is even brick and mortar in Vermont?
I was going to say, is there even brick and mortar left anymore? It's kind of wild. But yeah, we have a brick and mortar location in Crossville, Tennessee. We also have one in Essex, Vermont, because I founded the organization or the agency originally in Essex. So, I built deep roots there and had grown up there and knew everyone and been in Crossville since 2016 time frame, and then started a brick and mortar location there as well. And it's been an interesting time over the last, I would say, 5 years, because there's been a whole lot more acceptance to doing video calls, and whereas I would drive out to see all of our clients.
I call that my road warrior days.
Exactly. But yes, so we have locations in both states, and we do, as a matter of fact, even have folks in a couple of other states too. So we cover quite a bit of territory. I think one of the things you asked me a little bit about our funny logo and our site. Yeah. And as we were having some coffee this morning, would you like me to share?
Yeah, go ahead. Because the nexus of this, I asked her, how do you want me to introduce you? Because like I say sometimes, instead of, I own, with my wife, we're a partnership LLC, ALM Marketing LLC. That is and then we do business as Matt Libby Insurance. We're both owners. We're partners. I like to use the term principal broker because that's how I have to associate myself with the company. Stephanie has some unique titles for her people. And that's why I said, okay, how do you want me to introduce you? And that's where she said, well, you just use founder. That works. And it's like, okay, but you have other titles for you and your staff.
Yes, now you're going to ask me to have a memory.
You don't have to
memory
them all,
recall
but
on that.
Some examples.
I think on there I might be the trailblazer or the visionary or something of that nature, because that is a big part of what I do. And then we've got others. We have fun with our titles, because one of the things I found so mundane and boring in our industry is it's just insurance. We wanted to have some fun with it. So Affiliated Associates actually has a dog logo, and each one of our unique dogs means something very special. Yeah. One, our blue dog, is about communication. It's really important that we communicate well with our clients and have ongoing communication. There's also a technology dog in there, which I think may not have been as appropriate 25 years ago, but boy, has it ever changed.
Yeah.
So we have a technology dog, which has a crazy looking tail, which means it's always changing. And then a real big part of our agency is education. And that's our brown dog, who has a really short tail. If you happen to check out our website, affiliatedassoc.com. And the brown dog has a short tail because there's plenty of room for growth.
Right. I love that. That was one thing I forgot. You're talking about the room for growth. There's a lot of symbolism in your different positions, your titles. It is like, and that's where I came up, with the concept with the matchbooks. I didn't come up with the idea for matchbooks. I was at another meeting and somebody had matchbooks, and I thought, their matchbook's so boring. It's just a unique business card. Mine is much more than a unique business card. But it's actually because it's more about this show. Mm-hmm. It's, the QR code is to the website for the show, not my main business website. And it talks about, we're going to find your insurance match. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I love the corny stuff. You got to make it a little bit fun. It's so stale. It's like, I mentioned we're doing the booth at the fairgrounds. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to stop and talk to an insurance agent.
Oh, no, that's dull.
And most of the people that are going by us, they're really just on the way to the restroom. But we do get a few people that stop by and, enter our drawing, pick up some candy or something. So hopefully we'll get some bang for the buck. But, yeah, those are some of the fun things. You mentioned.
So our last dog, just to tie that out.
Yeah, you got one more dog.
One
okay.
last dog. Promise you, I'm almost done with
I'm going to come back to one, but go ahead.
The green dog is our service dog, and we purposely put a tail on that dog that goes in a circle and wraps it all up.
Oh,
and, one of my longstanding employees, she's still with me. She's been with me for over, I want to say 20 years now.
Yeah.
She just has loved that and loves helping people.
Yeah.
So that's why we did stuff like that. It made it more fun.
Now, you mentioned the brown dog, the education. What are some examples of that duty, the duties of the brown dog?
No problem. Happy to answer that. Well, I could take that in many, many directions. Let's start with education to employers, educating employers on the opportunities they may not be aware of. So I'll give you, for instance, we often take a little extra time explaining to an employer, they might be a small employer and they don't think they have access to the type of benefit packages that the large corporations do. Well, they're misinformed because they do. There are unique programs that can be put together for their health benefits. They don't have to follow the standard protocol.
Yeah.
And so they're pretty fascinated when they learn about that. And that's one of my big missions, is really bringing some of those benefits, what we call unbundled health plans, to those small employers. They're not the prepackaged programs. They actually give them some opportunity to control their expenses, provide potentially better care, adjust the documents so that they can put in things they might want to put in for their staff that's covered that may not be on a traditional plan, and vice versa. So a big part of our education is to the employers so they understand all the opportunities that they just don't know exist. Taking it a step further, if we were going to be talking about education to staff, we always like to make sure the staff understands their benefits. So, it's really important to myself and to Renee, who you mentioned when we started. She's here with us. It's important to us to be able to be in front of the employees and give them examples of how to use their benefits and teach them. It's really interesting. I'll never forget many years ago standing in front of a young group of gentlemen, and I looked around the room. I said the word deductible.
And you saw the deer in the headlights look.
Yes, sir, I most certainly did. And I thought, I always wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't really want to be a teacher in the standard version of teaching.
Right.
So I thought, here's our opportunity. Because do you think I would have understood coinsurance or deductibles or copays or any of that?
Oh,
not if I wasn't in this industry.
No, we talk about it every day, and we just think it's like, how do they not understand what I'm talking about? And I realize, because we talk about it every day. We know these terms, and that actually, one of the things I do is these Medicare 101 or Welcome to Medicare workshops. In like the third slide in is definitions. And I go and I explain the difference between copay and coinsurance and deductible and max out of pocket, because I'll have people, with their Medicare Advantage plans, which have a max out of pocket. Now, some have deductibles, most do not, but they'll have a max out of pocket. They all have a max out of pocket, and people will call it their deductible. And I'm like, no, that's not a deductible. The insurance company's paying some. But once you've hit a certain amount you've paid, you don't pay anymore. Deductible just means that's you pay that, then they start paying. So it's like I go over those definitions because once I get into the next couple slides and I start talking, because I'm going to be using those terms often, I don't want to have to try to explain them in the middle of presentation, because some people, and I've gotten better. I'm now doing my work presentation probably in about 35 minutes, which it used to take me pretty close to an hour just to do it, and then open for questions. So we don't want to have questions in the middle interrupt, because some people want they get their answer, they're ready to leave when we're done, and then others want to sit and ask a lot of questions. Right. So, but we do those. In Crossville, we do at the Cumberland Business Incubator. We've got one coming up there on Thursday, I think it's the 15th.
Yes, they do a great job
and,
over there.
It's a great location. It's easy to get to. Great parking. One of probably the best parking of the places that I go to, because it's not crowded. Because basically they're closed. We actually
a shout out to Holly Hansen. By
Holly's
the way.
great.
She's fantastic.
So we have to let people in once, because the doors have a time lock on them. So at 5 o'clock they lock. But so I have to get there before they leave so I can be in the building, and then when we leave, it's locked. I don't know if you've been in the business secret. It's so funny because the exit button to unlock the lock is like emergency exit. Don't push this or alarm will sound is what it looks like, because it says it's a big stop sign. So there's a sign above it that says, press here to exit. Really, you can press here or something like that. I always get such a kick out of that exit sign that lets you know that, oh, here's where you get out. Or here's how to get out. It says stop, but you really need to push it.
I was just thinking about something regarding the education piece.
Yeah. Back
on that for a moment, Matt. I kind of gave you an answer of two phases, right?
Yeah.
One was to the employer, because we really have to really kind of coach employers or teach them or share things with them that maybe they didn't know existed. And then the employees. There was also something else we were chatting about this morning, and I think this is educational to employers.
Yeah.
Recall we were talking about how brokers and agents, if you will, are paid in our industry this morning. I think, it's quite interesting when we ask our potential clients, do you know how your broker is compensated? Lots of times they don't know how to answer that. They're not really sure. Well, I'm pretty sure they get don't they get some commission or something?
Yeah.
They'll say stuff like that. And the reason I bring this up to share with you is because in different parts of this country, different states, there are no longer any commissions paid to brokers for health insurance benefits. And I think that might be new to some of your audience. They may not realize
it was new
that.
to me when you said that. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, because Tennessee's not one of those states yet. But we have seen some commission changes over the years.
I just realized that we're up on a commercial break here. So we definitely want to come back and address that. So we'll be right back.
Ready to grow your business? TriLight and AEC are here to help with the power of the area's only 100% fiber network. We understand that every business is unique, which is why we offer customized solutions designed specifically for your needs. Enjoy lightning-fast gig speeds along with HDTV and reliable phone systems, all backed by our local friendly 24/7 customer service. Call 833-847-0824 or visit trilight.net to learn more.
Hey, college students, ready to ace your dorm or apartment setup? Dive into your local Habitat Restore. Uncover unique, budget-friendly furniture, decor, and essentials that make your space pop, all while supporting a great cause. From trendy finds to classic pieces, Habitat Restore has everything you need to create your perfect pad. Plus, you can even donate your items that you're no longer using. Stop by Habitat Restore today, off South Jefferson Avenue in Cookeville, now with extended hours. Shop smart, live well, and make a difference.
And now, back to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby Insurance.
All right, and we are back to Insurance Matchmaking, and Stephanie was talking about, that was news for me today, that in some states, brokers can't earn commission on group plans. So I had to cut her off for the commercial break, so you may want to back up a little bit or just you kind of pick up where you left off there.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. There's a little bit of a story to that because, I saw the writing on the wall in the Northeast before the Affordable Care Act came into play, because the state of Vermont was no longer compensating brokers for their consulting services or for their assistance to businesses with their group medical plans, while most other states still were. And the reason I share that with you, Matt, is because it was a really interesting dynamic for us. We needed to change our mindset from just receiving a residual or a percentage of premium, to put it very straightforward. We needed to change everything and become a fee-based agency system, which I actually really like. And I want to share the reason why I like that. I like that because we set a fee. It's very transparent. We were ahead of the whole transparency phase. Have you not heard that word too many times in the last 5 years? So we were ahead of that because we were literally able to say, look, this is what we'll charge per month to assist you. And it doesn't matter where their premiums are. Now, my question to you this morning is, how many brokers out there are really incentivized to save their business clients money if they're getting a percentage of a higher premium?
Yeah, that kind of goes back to the history. How I started. I started with Aflac, did that for about a year, and then got into the health insurance field. And that's where I kind of learned the part of how in the group brokerage phase is, and you talk to somebody and go, oh, we had plan A for years. My doctor took it. It was no big deal. And then all of a sudden we're with company B, and my doctor's not in network with that. I had to get a new doctor. And I was like, you know why that is, isn't it? And they kind of give you that, huh? And it's like, yeah, because your broker needed to get new commission, so they switched you to a different carrier. So, and the carrier's kind of guilty of it, to me myself too, because I went to requote somebody for renewal, and they're like, oh no, those are just first year rates. You have to contact us to get the rate on their renewal plan because it's higher. And so brokers, so every couple of years they want that new commission. They'll get a renewal commission is a lot less than first year commission. So if you switch them to a new carrier, it's all new commission. I loved it when you talked about how, hey, we're fee based as consultants for their group insurance, and we're going to do what's best for them. Not, basically you're doing what's best for them, not what's best for you. And it's hard in the commission base to do that because there's times like. And it pains me sometimes that I'll tell people, I don't get paid anything for this, but this is really the best plan for you. Or I'll even tell them, these two plans are pretty similar. Your benefits are fairly similar. I'm leaning towards this one because I'll get paid if I enroll you in that one. And that's a tough line to walk sometimes.
And I think, just so that everybody understands, you're talking about Medicare and right?
No, I'm
Medicare
talking about like
sales,
with group.
Or are you talking about individual?
Like the individual or like the worksite benefit plans and things like that. Okay. And group plans. I mean, that was one of the things that the requoting part, that was a, small group employer plan.
Well, I'd like to then share why I love some of the things that Renee and I are doing and that I've been doing for about 20 years. That is different because what if I told you that I can pick your network for you if we want one? I can pick your pharmacy benefit manager for you so that we can pick who we have there. I can pick this. I can design your copays, and I can design your deductibles. And then let me also share with you that you won't see a change in my costs from year to year to year. And you may or may not see a change in the cost of that either. As a matter of fact, with our block of small businesses that we're working with, I want to say that our average increase has been less than 5%. We're below the trend of what's happening in the country when it comes to medical. So those are the things that I just love bringing to the smaller business owners. You know, we can do this for groups that go down to 10, all the way up to, all the way up to 1,000 if you want. But that's what's really neat. So you're not beholden to the networks of the carrier.
Yeah.
Okay, and you said network several times, so I tuned into that very quickly.
Yeah.
Probably another time would be a great time to talk about it, but I have to tell you, my staff and myself, we don't have a network.
Oh, I love that. That's because, when you mentioned that about we want a network, we're picking it. One of the things that's very frustrating for me, because one of the things I do that, the Medicare and the Affordable Care Act, Stephanie, they do group, they do some Medicare too. We have some overlap, but there's some things that she does that I don't even want to get near, and I think the feeling's mutual. But you talked about the networks. One of the things that's really frustrating for me, because I'm trying to think, it was 3 or 4 years ago, the marketplace, all the plans went to EPO. Everybody's familiar with PPO and HMO, and so I usually have to explain those. I hate EPO. It's just
Exclusive
a glorified
provider organization.
Huh?
Exclusive provider organization.
Yeah, and it's just a simplified HMO because it works exactly the same way. I had a client that they were traveling, went to an urgent care, and they have to pay the whole bill because their plan is not a PPO. There was no network coverage. And I'm not going to use the insurance company name, but you would have figured the plan that they had, somebody would be in network there. And when they called the company about their billing, you should have gone to the emergency room. Then that'd be, but it wasn't an emergency, so it would have come back, and then they would have had to pay the emergency room fee because it wasn't an emergency.
Right, and therein lies a challenge too, right? That even that statement alone makes me cringe because we coach very differently. Let's not go to the emergency room unless it truly is an emergency room, right? But because people are caught in such a conundrum, they kind of just throw their hands up and go, "I've got to go there." So again, I want to tie that back to education and plan design.
Yeah,
it's kind of critical to get some control on that, but it is very challenging for people because they have to navigate networks. They don't know. Lots of times they don't know what to ask. They don't know how to handle it. And that's why if I have my wishes, I like to just strip networks out completely and give people access, open access plans,
yeah.
Completely.
I've run into a couple plans that are like that, but they're not on the marketplace. We do some of the short-term plans, and I don't know if you're familiar with the changes that are happening there, is a few years ago, because of they compete with the Affordable Care Act. They are underwritten plans. You've heard me use that term on here before. You do have to go through the health screening to get these plans. And then a lot of them are limited benefits in that you have a high deductible and they don't cover anything until you meet the deductible. But you've had that catastrophic coverage. Well, the administration, not real favorable by that because they want everybody to get an ACA plan. So for a while there, you could get a 3-year, you can sign up today and have that same coverage for 3 years because it basically would be 3 one-year plans cobbled together. The beauty of it was you didn't have to do underwriting in year 2 and 3. And if you weren't eligible for that ACA tax credit, it made those affordable. Well, September 1st, we can no longer sell those plans. We can only sell a 3-month plan that can be extended for 1 month. Although there truly are going to be just short-term plans to kind of fill the gap between leaving one employer and going to another. So, but these plans work great for some people. Like if they're going to spend $1,200 a month for their premium because they don't get an ACA tax credit, and they can get a plan for $500 or $600, it's a big savings. In fact, couple years ago, or so a couple years back during the Trump administration, they took away the tax penalty. But when we had that tax penalty for not having qualified coverage, it was generally still less. The tax penalty plus what they paid the premium on a short-term plan was still less than what they would have paid that qualified health plan.
So we don't actually handle a lot of the short-term plans, Matt. That'd be where I'd defer to you. Because all of the plans that I design, I make sure that it's ACA compliant.
Right.
That way my group medical, and my businesses don't have to worry about that. But those are great. I was just commenting that you're right. You've got some fill-in for the 3-month or whatnot. But, I'm not as familiar with those as you are.
Usually those would be for someone like self-employed. Mm-hmm. They're not, they're not insuring staff, or they don't have staff. They're, the old, one man in a truck, so to speak. Speaking on that, and I know I've probably asked Renee this before. Is any business too small? Or obviously, the bigger companies again are usually more apt to be feasible. And again, yours or even mine, my level is when I started doing some small business. You get the 3-person mom and pop or something like that. There's virtually no commission on that. I actually have a small group that I think they have 5 employees. I would get much more commission if I put each one of those people on an ACA plan instead of doing them as a group. That's how disparity on that commission level. I'm sure you have a sweet spot for group size, but the other question is there a group that's too small that is not? It wouldn't be worth the time to deal with on your part?
Ideally, it would be maybe an employer group of 10, but at least 5 people are on the plan.
Yeah.
That's kind of our minimum because we're really creative and we can go down to 5, but 5 enrolled is really the lowest to look at alternatives outside of the traditional programs. The groups that are wonderful to work with are groups of 25, 45, 75 folks because we can have a great conversation with the decision makers.
Yeah.
And they'll and coach them and teach them. And so they're wonderful to work with, and then they're very receptive to us working with their staff and teaching their staff too. But yes, to answer your question very directly, Matt, I would say 5 enrolled is the lowest we really like to look at.
Right. And the other thing, too, is, as you and I both know, is you're designing a plan for a group. You're putting as much work into a group of 5 as you are pretty much a group of 50. It's kind of hard to say, especially with yours being fee-based. You're like, it's not going to be affordable for somebody that's got a group of 5, and you're going, well, this is what my time costs.
And I
versus if they know
you.
they're doing a bigger group, it's like it's very cost-effective for them. Probably, too, because you're going to be saving so much more on their health insurance versus if they maybe just dealt with a traditional broker.
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that because that is one of the challenges. I grew up in a self-employed family. So we had a farm, we had a construction company, and so I have a very soft spot in my heart for the small business owner. And I have a hard time saying, I'm sorry, we're just going to focus on, businesses that have 50 or more employees. Is that much more profitable to us from a fee structure and the time and energy? Yes, because they also typically have an HR person on staff. One of our great challenges in what we do is we find ourselves, were we talking about education earlier? We were talking about the employer and the staff. I should tell you, I can't tell you right now, honestly, I should say it differently, how many new HR people have been put into a small employer, and my team is educating them because they don't know any of the rules or they don't know how to do certain things. So, but I have that sweet spot of we'd like to work with 50 or more or 25 or more employees on a plan, but I just feel I owe it to the small business.
I got you. Yeah, that's great.
Business owner.
Well, believe it or not, we are actually coming up close to the end of this half hour. That's why I said it's going to be really easy to do a second show and do that. So we will come back here in a bit and do the second half hour so I'm getting 2 shows in this week. But Stephanie, what's the best way for people to find Affiliated Associates?
One of the best ways to find us is actually our website. Again, I'll repeat that for everybody, affiliatedassoc.com. And there's a super piece on there where you'll find all of our contact numbers. And I'll give you actually our local number, which is 931-742-0000. 0004.
All right. And of course, as I've said before, if you missed the number or whatever, you always, if you go to insurancematchmaking.com, we've got a comments block there that you can say, you can suggest a question for the show or say, hey, who was that lady Stephanie that was on there? What's her phone number? And we can get that for you. So stay tuned for that. And like I said, we're going to continue talking and have another show for next week.
You've been listening to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance.